Hey guys, welcome to our 24th Dots and Dashes podcast. I'm Lynn Kingsley.
Hi everyone, I'm Prakash Shah and welcome to our podcast number 24. Good morning, Lynn. How are you?
Yes, I'm fine, thank you. What about you?
I'm very good, and I believe we're going to talk about how we started our careers. And you can introduce what we're going to talk about today, please?
Yeah, these days I struggle to find enough hours in the day, and yet before automation, it's amazing what we accomplished. I started work at the age of 13. I couldn't wait for my 13th birthday. And when that came up, I was straight down to the chemist and they took me on. And I really enjoyed doing that. Every night after school, I was there, dusting shelves and one thing and another thing. But, you know, it was a job and it was fun. I continued with that all the way through until I left school and went to college. How did you start off?
Well, I was in Nairobi when I finished my A levels, and that was 1969. I finished my levels in December because in Nairobi the year was from January to December. So I had about 6 months before I started university in UK to study pharmacy. Funny enough, you started in pharmacist and I started as a pharmacist. But my very first job was a job that I was working at Colgate Palmolive in Nairobi as a temporary assistant. My job was to collect data, and the data was to do with costings in dollars. It's very interesting. It was all done manually, no automation, no calculator. It was a manual calculator to add up figures. And I found that very interesting. And so, come September, I came to UK. My career was chosen for me by default in a way. So,
Yeah.
do in college.
In college, I took accountancy and typing. And during the weekends, I used to work as a waitress in a local hotel. And I really enjoyed that too. I think it was about a 2 year course. And at night times, I'd stay on at the college and do a beauty course, just as something different.
Yeah.
In actual fact, that came in very, very handy later on in life.
Oh, good.
But when I started full time, I worked in this insurance company and it was all very sort of somber. And I've always been a bit bubbly and they weren't. And I
Okay.
did find things funny, but they didn't. And one day I'd got false nails on, right? And I was going through a file and passed the file over to the middleman that was asking for it. And all of a sudden, I heard this, "Oh my God, oh my God." And I turned round and he said, "Oh, what's this? What's this?" And so I've lost a false nail. And he was furious. I hated, get it away. You'd think it was something really bad. And I started to laugh. And that didn't go down too well. And I found myself in front of the guy at the top, shall we say. And he said, sort of laughter and that is not too good in this sort of environment, my dear. I think you've got to start pulling yourself together. And of course, that made me laugh even more than that. I was sitting there and trying not to laugh. Anyway, they decided this guy who found my false nail was a bit anti me after that. And so they moved me. You'll never believe it, but they moved me to the death section. Now, death section and my giggles were not very conducive, right? And I kept being told to be quiet, and because I was making other people laugh in the place, and they didn't think it was a good thing. So I decided it was time to leave, and I went on to a bakery after that, and that was okay. But then a furniture store after that because they paid more. And then I got a really good offer from a builder's place, and the money was going up all the time. And so I decided, yes, okay. And I mean, I've been in accounts all the time. I mean, that's what I was there for. But then I found out that they were crooked. So I left there and I was going to get married. So it was pointless looking for another job in between time. So I took in dressmaking and repairs whilst I was waiting to get married and move away, which was only about 2 months away. And also I went out and I did some apple pick. No, I didn't do apple picking. I'm sorry. I did apple sorting. So when the apples are picked off the tree, they come in and then they go through a conveyor belt and they fall through the stalks and two sides of the apple, and that was fine. But one day, the weather hadn't been too good, and so they hadn't picked the apples. So that meant everybody out picked the apples. I didn't go just to do apple picking, did I? I'm up this, I'm up this ladder, right? And the hole was bigger than me.
Yeah.
And so I've got this stand being slung across me. And my foot slipped off the ladder. They were aluminium ladders.
Yeah.
My foot slipped. I started to slide. My the strap of this down hod got caught on a branch, and there's me hanging in the tree, half on the ladder, half in the tree.
Oh, crumbs.
I decided apple picking was not for me, so I thought that's it. I'm leaving today. What part-time jobs did you have?
Um, really, but I think going back to your apple picking, I've never had any experiences like that ever, sort of thing, because I had a very quiet childhood, and while growing up, it was a very quiet. Even I wasn't very active. Whilst I played sports at school, I wasn't really into everything, and my career, pharmacy, was actually chosen by default, as I said before. Uh, in Nairobi, there was a university which offered medicine, accountancy, lawyers, so all sort of jobs. Our culture was asked to go into, and pharmacy was one of the topics that wasn't available in Nairobi University. So, and I always wanted to come to UK to study. So that way my career was chosen by default. Whether I'll do the same career again or not, if ever, I don't know. But I've enjoyed pharmacy. I went to Cardiff in 1970 at a 3 year course, then a year pre-age, trying to register as a pharmacist. In those days, it was 3 years plus one. I think the course now is about 5 years before you qualify. So it's
Right.
gone longer. It's been much more clinical. Whereas when I went to pharmacy, for me, it was more business oriented. So I've always been business minded. But I had a lovely time in Cardiff. I mean, the 3 years plus 1 year registration, I thoroughly enjoyed that. And those was probably the best time. I mean, I can tell you some of the things which I went through and what I did, but I think that's a story for another day when we can probably talk about university life. But today, that's how I became a pharmacist, and I worked 1 year pre-reg and 1 year for a multiple chain. Worked by the train station in Cardiff. It's a lovely big pharmacy. It's open 7 days a week, and I used to work some Sundays and met some characters, but there were stories of when we used to make our own mixtures and things like that. Those things don't do anything like that because I remember on one occasion I had to make. If you remember, Calpol used to give children, and we used to make Calpol by hand. We used to make in big 2 liter Winchester bottles, and it was sticky liquid. And this bottle fell out of my hand on the dispensary floor. I can imagine how sort of I felt sort of guilty and sort of felt afraid what I'd done. It was a messy project to clear up, and I think that staff were good and they helped me because that was during my pre-reg year. Obviously, they thought I was a new person to the job, so they let me go get away with that. But whether I could get away with that now, I don't know. So I worked in Cardiff till about 76, and then I moved to London, and I worked for a couple of multiple chains in London. I worked for a farm, small farm. Then I moved to. Oh yeah, I tell you, one occasion I worked for about 6 months in a pharmacy in Trafalgar Square.
Oh, wow.
It was I don't that pharmacy is no longer there. It's only a tiny place, and they had a really good old dispenser. He used to do all the dispensing for me. Now I was just supervising. But the perk we had there was because it was near all the theatres. Every so often I used to get theatre tickets.
Wow.
So we saw quite a lot of shows there, some really good ones. And that's when I just met my wife to be, and we were just courting. So those tickets came in handy while we were courting. So
Yes.
that's the story up to London. And then my path changed a bit. But anyway, that's so far. We can go carry on about that bit later on. But what about you? How did you carry on after your apple picking? Interesting.
Yeah.
How did you?
Well, I got married, had 3 children, and I took in dressmaking and repairs for a few years, plus accountancy for small business people as well. Eventually, I got divorced, and I kicked him out actually, but that's another story, and I'll tell you about that one day. And that's quite funny. And I started working full time, but I also worked in bars at night and clubs at the weekend where I could take the children. So I've been a barmaid as well. But eventually I met Peter through an advert for an accountant. And so I toddled off there that day and went in, met him. He said yes, but he wanted me to do the job in-house, not outside, because normally I just used to go in, collect books, work on them at home, and then take them back again. But he said he wanted me in the office, and I wasn't too sure about that. I said, I'll give it a try, because I'm not really an office-bound person, and I do have other people to do the books for as well. So anyway, we decided to give it a try. And it worked out pretty well. Then we started seeing each other, and it was more or less the end of my searching for jobs. I didn't have to because I was already there. But we'd gone to Florida and took the children, as I've said in one of the podcasts before. And whilst we were there, I noticed how much the Americans did for their disabled people as opposed to what we were doing in the UK. And being as Peter's dad had lost a leg, I was familiar with the problems that surround people with a disability. So I said to Peter on the flight back, do you know, a lot of this stuff would be really brilliant to do in the UK, that what they're offering, like getting them out and taking them places and that sort of thing. So I started up a company called Freedom for the Disabled. And I had a minibus all kitted out with wheelchairs. And I bought 2 cars as well. One had a seat that you could turn in the front, so that turns, and then they get on the seat, and then you bring them in again. And the other one was for people like the blind and that who didn't need extras. So it was like a normal car. I run those 3 vehicles for some time, much to the annoyance of taxi drivers. They were furious. They used to try and get me off the road. One night I caused absolute mayhem at the train station. I went to pick up a gentleman who was blind. When he got off the train, he used to get disorientated. So I used to go and pick him up every Friday night. And so I pulled in, and these taxi drivers knew I was coming because I did it every Friday night. And so they decided that they were going to stop me. So they were trying to block my way, which they did. So I just parked up the minibus, turned the engine off, got out, locked the doors, and went off to get the gentleman. And when I come out, I said to him, there's a load of nonsense going on in the car park, so don't worry about it. There'll be a lot of noise that I'm being shouted at. So he was aware of it. And I got him back to the minibus, got him in, started up the engine, and just sat there and waited. But that's the type of things that were going on, or against anybody helping the disabled. You know, but
How long ago was this, Lynn?
oh gosh, that was way back in that was in the 80s, I think. Must have been.
Very poor
Oh,
services.
early 90s.
The disabled people weren't very well looked after then, were they? I can imagine.
No, they weren't.
No.
No. no disabled people that were just, you make way for them, but there was nothing really for them to
Exactly.
get from A to B, and so I made it a little bit easier for them.
Okay.
But
Interesting.
the council wouldn't give us any grants or anything else, and I had loads of trouble with the council. And but eventually, I decided enough was enough, and I closed that. But then I took on a hair and beauty salon, and I specialised in trichology and dermatology,
Interesting.
as well as working. I was still in the firm.
Oh, good. So for me, I think my career changed after I worked in the pharmacy in Leicester for about 6 months, and I was sort of approached and headhunted to both join a bigger firm. And I worked with them for about 3 or 4 years. In the end, I was running a pharmacy with employing 75 people. I had two other pharmacists under me. It was in Bayswater. It was when all the Arabs were coming to UK to because they're making lots of money with oil, and they were spending like money was no object to them. And
Yeah,
that was interesting time. I mean, the pharmacy was about like you see one of the bigger pharmacies like Boots in UK was as big as that in those days, and we used to sell all sort of things from. It wasn't just pharmacy; it was we used to sell audio equipment, watches, and cosmetics, all those of things, perfumes. And it
yes,
was interesting. I mean, pharmacy was only a small part of the business in a way at those days.
that's right.
Yeah. And so I worked for them 4 or 5 years before I started my own pharmacy in 1982. And that's an interesting story which we can go on another day because the pharmacy was based in Sheen Lane near Richmond,
Right.
near Mortlake, this place where the boat race used to start.
Oh,
Oxford.
right.
So
Yes.
on the boat race day, it was very interesting. Everybody used to dress the windows and everything, promoting the boat race. And that was interesting time because the pharmacy I bought was very run down. I ran that for 5 years and built it up. But I think that's, we'll have to talk as a long story from then on because by that time we'd got married, I had two children. And we met in 1976, got married in 1980, and last in May it was our 45th wedding anniversary.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we've been together that time, it's a long time. So
Yeah.
anyway, and so from 82 till 88, I stayed there before we moved to Bournemouth. But I think I'm going to leave that part till another day.
Okay.
And so if anything else, because some interesting things happened after that, and the story of moving from London to Bournemouth is in itself a story. So I'll leave that as a surprise or as a
Yes.
little
Oh,
for next time.
yes.
Okay.
So, guys, you're going to have to tune in next week to find out the rest of the story.
Yes, please do. Yeah, because we'll have some interesting topics, interesting customers, some curious customers, and things that make life as a pharmacist enjoyable, not stressful like some people make it out to be. Anyway, on that note, I will say bye for now.
And it's bye from me too. See you next week.
See you next week.